This week, we're going to talk about what it takes to write a book, the sacrifices you have to make, the consequences. No, I'm just kidding. No consequences. It's good stuff. It's exciting. It's thrilling. Wendy and I are going to share our journey writing fiction, nonfiction on this week's broadcast of JW Fusion. Welcome to this week's broadcast of JW Fusion. I am your co-host, J.H. Carpenter Barnes, and I'm here with the awesome, the magnificent, brilliant, inspiring, and motivated Wendy B.
Thank you.
I'm so happy you're here this week.
I'm happy I'm here. I'm happy you're here.
I'm happy you're here every week.
Well, all right. We're happy that we're here.
We're happy that we're here. We're excited. This week, we're going to be talking about something really awesome.
Yeah, something just very close to our hearts.
Dear to our hearts. And a lot of people ask us, how do you write a book?
Yeah, they do. So let's talk about that, right?
And, well, let's unpack it.
Let's unpack it.
Let's talk about, first of all, let's talk about the challenges.
Oh, geez.
How do you come up with...
Is this a two-parter?
Huh? You're making me laugh.
Okay.
We're on the air.
Okay, sorry about that.
All right. So, for your book.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Great story. How did you come about the story? How did you go about what you wanted to write? How did you come up with that?
Well, it's basically a story of my life.
Or the story of your life.
Or the story, right, of my life, and how through the craziness that life, the cards that the life has dealt me, how I got through it.
Okay.
When I felt like there was not going to be a solution or a positive outcome to things that have happened to me.
Okay.
Just by having the faith that God blessed me with from birth.
Okay.
How it brought me through. And I want to inspire others to know that there's always a way, even if we can't see the way.
So your story, Unbelievable, is a story of faith.
Yeah,
of your
exactly.
faith. Because that's the thing that impressed me about you, and I've talked about this on previous broadcasts, well, actually several broadcasts back. You know, we've been on air a while.
Over a year.
Yeah, well, over a year.
Yeah.
But I was talking about how your faith is so strong. I've gone so far as to say I believe you have the gift of faith.
Wow.
Because I've never known you to be rattled by circumstances or by delays, by adversity. Mm-hmm. When something happens, you settle into a place where your feeling is it's going to work out.
Yeah. And I've always had that. I can't explain it. It's just something that has, but I do get rattled. It's just, it doesn't show. I'm that duck in the water.
I tell you what, you
look like the duck is floating, but the feet are just going frantic. You know,
so that's you?
That is me.
You look calm on the outside and your feet are busy.
Oh my gosh.
Beneath the surface.
And so metaphorically, the feet are, but I am praying really hard.
Okay.
Because I don't like the feeling of being rattled.
Okay.
So that's when I kind of really clean, okay, Lord, I don't know why this is happening. I don't know how I'm going to get out of this.
Okay, I got you.
I don't know, what, I know I'm in a tunnel, but where's the light?
Yeah.
I hold stronger. I white knuckle God at that point.
You white knuckle? I've never heard anybody white knuckle God before.
I tell you that, hey, that's what I do.
And you know what? I understand that.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing a roller coaster.
Yes.
And I'm imagining, it's climbing, and it reaches that point, and then they have the nerve to turn and then drop.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And so you really squeezing, holding on tight, knowing, okay, this is my part, the rest is up to him.
Yeah.
That's your mindset.
Yeah.
I get that.
I have to, that's what's got me through a lot of the obstacles in my life.
Okay, so that's the story. Tell us how you went about actually deciding to sit down and write it, because I know you've been challenged with that.
Oh gosh. Yeah,
not to put your business in the street, but you've been challenged with that.
Yeah.
Getting the butt in the chair.
Yeah. I mean, that's the first thing you have to do, right?
Yeah, you have to. unless you got to stand. Like I have, you have one of those stand-up desks.
See, I don't have the fancy stuff like you do.
Well,
But It comes down to making a decision.
Ah,
Everything starts with a decision.
so for you, it was making a decision
Yeah.
that I'm going to write this.
Yeah, because like you said, 80% of people want to write a book.
80% of the statistics show that 80% of Americans have a dream or desire to write a book.
Yeah.
Or have written a book.
Right. So I had a small desire, but being part of the anthology, the Love Mama anthology, volume
Yeah.
2 is my
Yeah.
story. It was cathartic, and it's a short story, but it was more healing that I didn't know needed to be healed.
Okay.
And the
Okay.
responses I got from people who it touched and who felt motivated and uplifted and
Okay.
inspired from it,
Yeah.
I felt it would be selfish of me not to expand on that story a bit more.
Okay.
And so it was a decision because you know how I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it when the kids get older. Well, I'm gonna do it when I turn 50. Okay, well, I'm gonna do it when I finish cooking. Like we have excuses.
I know.
But sometimes you
Yeah.
just have to. And I've told people, you just sit down for 10 minutes and do something.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, those amas,
Yeah.
it turns into a book eventually.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was just, I had to make that decision that this is a story that God has told you to share. It will not be easy because it's my story. So a lot of it is painful and things, like I said, I thought I've gotten through and over.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh, okay.
So your writing brings up those
Yeah,
memories.
it does.
Yeah, I
Like
understand.
the feelings, like you're put right back into that space.
Exactly.
But then part of that is realizing, okay, whenever I've said now, like I can't do that, or I don't know if I want to do. Writing the book shows me, look at what he's brought you through.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So if he brought you through all of that,
Mm-hmm.
stay tuned, y'all. Get ready for the ride. That he can bring me through other things.
Okay.
And
I
that's
can
my
relate to that.
purpose. I want people to read that and see, not to feel sorry for me, because God has brought me through these situations, but to see that, okay, the Lord brought her through all of that. I just have this going, or I'm going through the same thing.
So it's safe to say that if you're going to write a book, you got to be willing to tell the truth.
Yeah.
You can't.
Be transparent.
You have to be transparent.
Yeah.
You have to be.
You do.
Because, I mean, that's one of the rules of being a writer. And I don't know if it's spoken or unspoken in journalism, but because there are journalists who have written things that were very unpopular.
Yeah.
But it was the truth.
It was the truth.
And in some parts of the world, those people were put to death.
Right.
But there's a code among writers that you write what's true. You have to, even if
Yeah.
it's fiction, you're writing what's on your. I know for me, when I wrote
Yeah.
Between the Ticks of the Clock, there were parts of the book that I was uncomfortable writing. The areas.
So why was it? I know mine was uncomfortable because I'm reliving some things. Why was it uncomfortable for you?
Well, it was uncomfortable. Discomfort in writing comes from two areas.
Okay.
It comes from your own inhibitions or fears, and it also comes from the fears that other people are going to misunderstand you. They're going to mistake you
Okay.
or not get what you're saying.
Yeah.
And so some of the areas that I wrote about in my protagonist's life, the temptations that he faced as a man when dealing with the spiritual world, that the spiritual world physically affected him, which it does affect
Okay.
us positively
Oh, yeah.
and
It definitely
negatively,
does that.
depending on which side of that realm you're dealing with. There was some parts I was feeling, well, maybe I shouldn't include this, but I had to because it came to me as part of the story.
Okay.
This was this man's story. Even though it's fiction, that's this man's story.
Yeah.
And I have to tell this man's story.
So how do you decide? Because I know if I was listening to us talk, Wendy's story is her story. You can't, it's what it is.
Yeah.
But when you are being creative in your writing and you say you had to tell it, how do you know that's what you have to tell?
Because when you try to remove it, you try to delete it, it takes from the energy
Okay.
of what you're writing.
Got it.
Because when you're writing, there's a pace, there's a cadence that comes, there's a rhythm. Stephen King calls it a rhythm. Some people call it a cadence.
Okay.
And the reason I admire Stephen King, I'm not really so much into horror, but he writes the truth. He writes things as they would be in life.
And as somebody who's read, I haven't gotten through a whole one. Things
I
make
read-
you uncomfortable, though.
Sure they do, but that's if you're uncomfortable being uncomfortable, if
Yes.
you're uncomfortable
Yes.
being transparent and honest, then you have no business writing.
Yeah.
If
You have to be comfortable.
you have to be
with
comfortable,
being uncomfortable.
and if you're gonna, why would you? What makes you think someone wants to read something you don't even believe in?
Wow. Say that again. That's huge.
Why would you think someone would want to read something you don't even believe in?
That's good.
Because if you're not writing the truth, that's saying you don't believe in what you're writing.
Yeah.
A good fiction novel, as well as nonfiction, has a conviction behind it. There's a strength behind it. If you don't have that, it's not going to push you through to finish that book. That's how I was able to get through writing Between the Ticks of the Clock and writing Looking for God,
Yeah.
because I wrote the truth. I wrote what happened.
And that's a life lesson, I would venture to say.
It's true of
If you can push through anything,
Yes.
whatever the circumstance,
yes, definitely.
it makes you stronger.
Sure it does.
And you feel better after because you're standing in your truth.
That's good. Standing in your truth.
Yeah.
Because good writing is always based on truth. It may not be comfortable truth.
Yeah. And it may not be popular.
It oftentimes it's not popular.
Yeah.
There's controversy. There's conflict. Because I was reading something the other day, and it said, if you're doing something, it was a YouTuber. He was talking about your YouTube videos, about taking a position on who you are. For instance, we're believers. We're Christians.
Yes.
Some people condemn that. I could care less.
And that's fine.
We're believers.
You stand over there and condemn all day.
Right. And so
Yeah.
you have people who will applaud you for your faith.
Yeah.
But then you have another group who resent you.
Yeah. But
Or,
that's in anything.
or who demean. Right. Exactly. That's the
Yeah.
point. You have those who are for you, and you have those who they call haters.
Yeah.
If you don't have haters,
You're dead.
then that means you're not really standing for something.
But I was talking to a friend a few days ago, and I said, no matter how good you try and be, no matter how many people you try to please, someone is going to condemn you.
Absolutely.
If you're being your best self, someone's going to
They're going to condemn
They're gonna
you.
condemn you.
They got something to say. Everybody
something to say about something.
has two things. Everybody has
I know what you're going to say.
one thing, and they have an opinion. Both of which they can keep to themselves.
Yeah.
And so the way I view it as far as writing goes, and I'll say this to anyone that's listening, if you have a story to tell, make it up in your mind. You're going to tell the story the way it happened. Because the power of books is, we were just talking about books, your book being a legacy.
Yeah.
It's a testament of your life. And you don't know who's going to read that book and it's going to change their life.
Right.
For instance, when I became born again, I read so many Kenneth Hagin books, books by E.W. Kenyon and other men of faith. And even the gentleman who founded IBM, he wrote a book on building men. And the thing I learned from him is the power of knowledge, how knowledge brings about inspiration. And that's how he built his company.
That's very true.
Not when you have new knowledge, you can't wait to go implement it.
And find out more.
And find out more.
Yeah.
And so there's power in books.
Yeah.
I love books from 1925. I have several
have a
books
lot of those.
from the 1920s.
Yeah.
Because these were the forerunners of the personal development books that are on the market and so popular right now. People are parroting or regurgitating those principles because there's nothing new under the sun.
True.
There's nothing new under the sun. There's no new thing on the earth. Everything has been done before. It may have been a different color, a different flavor, by a different nationality in a different part of the world, but it's been done before.
But the beauty is that you have all of those different variables that maybe
Sure. Yeah.
I'm going to write something that's not going to touch anyone. but someone can write something similar and they have a different background,
Yes,
race,
yes,
culture,
true,
whatever,
true.
and it's going to resonate with someone.
Exactly,
But that's
exactly.
okay. You don't write to become famous or
No,
rich.
no. If that's your motive,
Just
forget about it.
Don't write.
Forget
Don't,
about it.
Don't do it.
Most right. I think it's because I do a lot of research
you.
on stats.
Yeah.
But I believe it's only about 5 or 10%, I believe, of writers who make a very good living from their writing.
And they didn't come out with the first book necessarily.
No,
And then they were
no,
famous.
no.
They've been grinding for years,
And
decades even.
And everybody, that's not your destiny.
Yeah.
You may have a destiny to write a book, but it doesn't mean it's going to be a bestseller. It doesn't mean that your book is going to be made into a movie. You know,
Yeah.
the purpose of what you wrote was for you to give expression
Yeah.
to the gift that's within you.
That's so good.
That's
I grew up reading because I was super shy.
me too.
I was a super introvert,
Yeah.
as although people don't want to believe that. But I read all the time, and I can get lost. And that's why I love the way you write, because I can get lost
Yeah.
in the story. I forget about whatever I'm going through, and I get lost in the story. But even as a kid, growing up, I read books.
Do you know what's interesting is we were talking. You mentioned this at one of your talks that you gave. That there was a time when people didn't have internet.
Right.
I know that's shocking for some
I
people.
know. Some people just don't even know what we just said.
Some people. There was a time where there was no internet. There was a time where there were no tablets, no cell phones, no personal computers.
Right. Oh my God, a copier. We didn't have copiers.
You had a
we had that machine.
mimeograph
Yeah,
machine.
you turned in a circle.
Ink all over your fingers.
And it smelled so good.
Yeah, oh my gosh.
I love the smell.
That
Y'all
stuff-
look it up, Google it.
That stuff will get you drunk.
No,
But anyway,
I ain't sniff it. I smell it.
but anyway, the thing is that going further back, people used to sit around the radio in the 40s.
Yeah.
They listened to the radio shows,
Right.
Jack Benny and all those shows.
Yeah.
And prior to that, people read books.
Yeah.
And before that, they told stories.
Over the camp
Before
and-
the
yeah.
printing press, people told stories. So storytelling, be it in the 1400s or 3000 BC or right now in 2020, storytelling has been an essential part of the human experience.
Yeah.
And so when we write a book, that story that we write, we don't know one day may contribute to a family's
Yeah.
entertainment, a family's encouragement. You
Yeah.
never know. You write your story, someone will read it and say, wow, this is what I went through.
Yeah. Yeah.
I will go so far as to say, I believe that God will often have us to write something for one person
And that's huge, though.
because you never know
You never know.
that one person.
Because although you're affecting that one person, you're really affecting many, because the people who interact with, live with, work with in the environment of that person,
Yes.
they're changed.
Yes.
Because
yes.
that one person
Exactly.
has changed.
That's it. You said it right there. Because the example I always give is back in the 80s, I used to go to a drug rehab center in Roseland. And I would go and share with the guys that were mandated there. These guys were drug dealers from different parts of our area because they were mandated to federal prison. But they got some either had a good lawyer or whatever, but they were mandated to treatment. And so I would go there and share biblical principles with them. Now, I couldn't say Jesus, I couldn't say God, I couldn't talk about the Bible.
Because it's a state-run facility.
Exactly.
Okay.
But I told my story. I told my
Yeah.
story of selling
Yeah.
drugs, my story of the only difference between me and them, they got caught, I didn't. God saved me.
That's
and
a lot of us, though.
that is a lot of
Yeah.
us. And so out of that group, there was one guy who decided, he made up his mind, he wanted to change his life. He came to God and allowed God to change him. Well, that one man he wrote, I think he'd written 4 or 5 books.
Oh, wow.
By the time I ran into him again.
Wow.
We wound up at the same church years later, and I just ran into him.
And that's not coincidence, right?
It wasn't a coincidence.
Okay.
God wanted me to see.
Yeah.
From that one person, he'd written several books, and he started an online Bible school.
Oh, wow.
This guy who was running drugs between Chicago and New York, this same guy that when he got arrested, he said he had a duffel bag, an army duffel bag stuffed full of money.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So this one man's life was changed because of our interaction.
You telling your story.
Me telling my story.
Yeah.
So don't ever minimize your story. Don't minimize your experience, because there's somebody somewhere that needs to hear what you have to say.
There's always a person out there.
There's always.
I would
You're
venture,
right.
I mean,
I would
because
say.
I stopped keeping it a secret that I was sexually abused as a child.
Okay. Yeah.
And the more I said, well, the more I keep it in, the more it grows, and it takes over who I am and what I do.
Yeah.
And as I would talk about it, just like I'm talking about the weather, I would talk about it. And I've ran into people who's like, wait, what? I'm like, oh, yeah. And they're like, oh, wow. And then they open up. But then to me, that frees them from that secret that they've been holding on because they felt embarrassed. They felt they'd be judged. A lot of times, sex abusive survivors feel like they have done something to warrant what happened. Yeah, especially as a kid.
That's a wicked, evil lie.
It is, but
it is. It's a wicked, evil lie.
The more you talk about your story,
you have to tell your story.
And another point is Christian and Paige. I used to keep them at home because I just don't want to. I'm gonna fight you. You're looking at my child wrong. You looking with disdain or whatever, and I am ready to physically punch you in the face.
Yeah.
But because Christian's birthday was just this past week, Sunday.
Yeah.
And he has like 400 happy birthdays on social media.
Yeah.
And all I could think about is, what if you had kept him hidden?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because you didn't want to fight somebody.
Yeah.
Get over yourself, because putting him out on social media is not about me. It's not about showing off my child. It's about helping others who have disabled children.
And not only that, it's including him in your life experience.
Yeah.
Because granted, he can't communicate the way we communicate, but he communicates.
But he communicates, yeah.
When he gets in a funk, he shows it. When he gets an attitude, he shows it.
Yeah.
When he's happy, he shows it.
Yeah.
So him being a part of what you do on your YouTube videos and your Facebook Live, it's huge for the spirit that's inside of him.
Yeah.
Because that spirit inside of him is just as aware as yours.
Right. He's a 16-year-old boy in there.
He's a 16-year-old child in there. Or I call him a child, but he's a boy.
Yeah.
He is. And
heck, young man. Oh,
yeah,
gosh.
he is.
Jesus.
And so sharing that will embolden someone else who was ashamed.
Yeah.
Because you know what people do? When you have a special needs child, the first thing they say is,
tell it.
What did you do wrong?
Yeah.
There must be something in your life. God must be punishing you.
Yeah. I hope and pray no one ever tells me that.
Well, people like that they're limited.
Yeah.
They're limited, and oftentimes they don't know what they're talking about. So you have to view their ignorance.
People have their own. We all fall short.
Yeah.
We all sin.
But some people
some people feel better telling you what you've done.
Yeah, that's true.
To warrant what happened.
See, some people fall short and some people fall over.
Yeah.
They just fall over.
They're going to fall over because I'm a tripping. Oh, I wasn't supposed to say that. But yeah, so even Christian has a whole chapter.
And Unbelievable?
Each child has their own chapter.
Okay.
Because I had 3 completely different kids.
Okay.
And they each had a positive effect on me once I got over myself. Which is huge. I just told someone
is that in your book?
Yes.
So
yeah. I'm transparent.
You're being transparent.
I am.
Because I know you're very transparent.
Yeah.
You're very open.
I have to be.
Well, I mean, I think it's good.
I'm not going to remember the lie if I tell it anyway.
I know. You told me that. That was one of the first things you told me, that
Hey,
I'm not gonna lie, because I can't. If I lie, I won't remember what I
Wendy,
said.
you said you did that too. Say,
I did.
yeah. So I'm gonna get messed up. But yeah, it's important to tell your story, to be transparent.
It is.
You can't worry about. Like I said, no matter what you do, somebody is gonna be shaking their head and sucking their teeth.
Yeah.
At what you're doing.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely
what I
right.
mean?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And you know what? You asked me earlier about parts of a book being uncomfortable or emotional. There were parts of my fiction as well as nonfiction, because when you write from your heart, that's you in that book.
Yeah.
It may not be verbatim and fact-based, but it's your essence is in that book.
Yeah.
And there were parts of Between the Ticks of the Clock that as I was writing it, I was crying as I was writing it. Oh yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Certain parts, like when
Don't tell the story now.
well, I mean, when the protagonist and his wife and their family reconciled, the beauty of that, because they were their home was just torn apart, and when they reconciled, the love that God blessed me to be able to express in the dialogue and the narrative and the description, the love that was there, it touched me,
Wow.
And the same thing when I was writing Looking for God, Look No Further, Look Within, when I wrote about getting up and going out on the lakefront and praying, those feelings came back, and it's even now I can feel those emotions, because being that close and intimate with your creator like that, after what I'd been through, the horrors that I'd been through during my conversion, and then to have that peace of the water and a sunrise.
Oh gosh.
It's when you go back to that, when I'm 27 years old, so I'd been an adult really for 5 years, 7 years, 5 years, 21, so 6 years I was an adult. And to have that shift happen in your life, to go through that trauma that I went through, and then you hear the Lord speak to your heart while you're there. That is
That's music.
That right there is motivation for you to tell your story at every opportunity.
Yeah, it's important to tell your story. It's not only important for who you share your story with, but it reinforces you, your faith, your story.
Yes, it does.
It gives you
You're
that
right.
strength. It gives me strength. If you look at, that's why I called it unbelievable, because I'm like, nobody's gonna believe this story, because had I not been through it, I wouldn't have believed it.
Well, I can only imagine from the things you shared with me, things we've shared with each other, things we've been through and things we've done. It's only by God's grace that we are who we are.
Right.
And we are where we are, and we live the life we live.
Yeah. Every aspect. So
as far as admonishing people in the writing of their books, I would say I think after the break, what we're going to do, we're going to talk about the steps as far as the technical aspect. We talked about the emotional aspect, the creative aspect of writing, be it fiction or nonfiction. There's a part of you that goes into that work. But then there are technical things that need to be in place, or you'll wind up with a train wreck.
Yeah, but the key is to get started.
Yes,
the technical doesn't have to start.
You have to get started.
Yeah, you just start writing, and there are people out there to help you with the technical that can come. But get that story written.
You got to get it written. You have to. Well, listen, we're going to take a break here. We'll be right back after this message. Hi, I'm James H. Carpenter Barnes. June 1982. I was selling drugs, playing music, wound up living in a car. I was homeless for the entire summer of that year. But during that time, God touched my life, changed my life. I believe everyone's journey has a purpose. I'm a writer now. I'm writing novels. I've lived a wonderful life. I'm living a wonderful life, and I'm looking forward to new conquest. I attribute this to the principles that I've learned over the years, and I put them in a book, Looking for God, Look No Further, Look Within. This book is filled with the principles that I learned over time, understanding the conscious, understanding the subconscious mind, and how we can program them to create the world of our dreams.
You're listening to JW Fusion with your hosts, James and Wendy B.
And we're back. JW Fusion.
This is a good conversation, babe.
It is. It's an awesome conversation. I'm loving it.
Yeah, I'm hoping that people will hear and just like seriously close your eyes and think about that book that's been in you. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it with the list of excuses.
You know, it's a daunting task. It's not easy. Many people write books and they write, they may do 15,000 words, something like that.
So tell people, because people hear 15,000, they think like, what is that?
Well,
An encyclopedia
okay,
series?
15,000 words is roughly about 50 pages.
Okay. Yeah. So
Roughly.
that's not, and the book doesn't have to be
It
this
doesn't have
massive
to be
novel.
long, as long as it conveys your story.
Yeah.
There's some amazing books that are very short.
Yeah. And people don't get caught up in well, I got to check my grammar. I got to make sure, because, we fell into
on
that
that first
before
draft.
as we're typing. We're like, wait, go back. What? Just do a.
You know what? Let's talk about that, babe.
Okay.
Let's talk about that technical aspect. Number one, if you're taking notes, write this down. When you're writing, when you're doing your first draft, do not, under any circumstance, try to edit what you're writing.
Yeah.
You won't
never
finish.
it. Yeah.
You'll hinder the flow of your writing. I wrestled with that at one point.
Even the authenticity of the story.
Yeah, that's why I like doing in longhand first, because you can't edit longhand. You can white it out and put a different word,
And
but
that's a pain.
That's a pain. So it's
Yeah.
not as easy as with a Word document where you can just, I need to change this. Let me spell check. No.
That comes later.
Rule number one: get the first draft written. Get it down. As a matter of fact, I would go so far as to say, if you've never written before, try writing longhand first. Get a legal pad and write that first page or that first paragraph. Because see, the way writing works is your first sentence is your topical sentence, which is what the paragraph is about.
Yeah.
That first
Sets
paragraph
the tone for the paragraph.
sets the tone for the paragraph. That first paragraph sets the tone for that chapter. So, and then you could, if you wind up writing parts, part one, part two, with various chapters in there, that first chapter of that first part sets the tone for that part one, and so forth.
Yeah.
And so it kind of gives you a guideline that if your topic sentence is "I love apples," that's your first sentence.
There you go.
Then you talk about why you love apples, how that came about. What kind of apples do you like?
What do you want to do with the apples?
What do you want to do with the
Yeah.
apples? You can't start
Stay focused on
You
that.
can't start talking, I like apples. Apples are great. They have pectin. They taste good. You can make apple pie. And then you start talking about oranges, or you start talking about Pepsi-Cola, or you start, now you need another paragraph
Yeah.
or another chapter for that.
Because you've just frustrated the
'Cause
reader.
You've just gone, you've taken them out of the apple environment
Yeah.
and put them in
And thrown
Pepsi-Cola.
them. Yeah.
Pepsi-Cola and apples don't go together.
But I don't
I've
think
never,
so.
I've never tried it.
I'm good.
I've had Pepsi with some of everything, but
I'm good. Not with apples, though.
not apples.
Yeah.
No. So that's the first thing is get that first draft written. Take it down by hand if you need to. If you're not comfortable doing that, then of course you type. But I like doing longhand because it's more organic,
Yeah.
and there's a greater connection to your creativity when you hand write something, as opposed to typing it.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with an artist who paints with a paintbrush.
And then because they have computer
versus
yeah.
computer, computer aided drafting or drawing
Yeah.
or design, it's a different feeling that you get. Not that the other one isn't good, but the handwriting is more organic.
That's kind of how you're taught as a child, though. Remember, you had to learn how to do the long division before you
Yeah.
could pick up the calculator. I'm
Yeah.
like, can't I just use the calculator?
There's a part of our brains that we tap into, that area of creativity. And so that's the first step, is getting the first draft done. Once you've gotten the first draft, you go all the way through. Don't do a chapter and edit it.
Oh, no, you still never finish.
Don't do a chapter and
Yeah.
edit it. I like to work in chapters. I'll do chapter 1 because that theme is there. I'm locking that theme for that chapter in. Then I'll separate that and do a second chapter
Right.
on a separate document. And then
Yeah.
I'll do a third chapter on another document. Now, this is,
You know, it's funny. I'm different.
what do you do?
So let's just take the kids, right?
So we obviously have been peeping at each other writing.
I know. So I will write, say I'm writing about Christian, and then either I am done with a thought, or, I just need a minute to get past some of the harder times in his life. And so let me set this to the side. Let me go over here to page. Or I may be inspired by something I'm doing throughout the day, like, man, let me put this down about Matthew. So I will try, they're separated by chapter, but sometimes I won't necessarily finish a chapter before something else reminds me, let me make this a chapter before I forget. So I kind of dance around.
Well, I've done that.
Yeah.
I have stopped work. Actually, this is what happens. I'm working on a chapter. Let's say the chapter I was doing on motive, on the importance of your motive being love, and whatever you do in life, it should be motivated by love, not greed, not self-serving, not trying to be recognized, famous.
Although that's what's fed into us.
That's what's fed into
society.
us. But love should be your motive behind the things you do for yourself, for others, for your family,
Yeah.
even for people you don't know.
Yeah.
And so I'm writing that, and then another thought comes regarding fear. Well, fear is the antithesis of love.
Yeah.
Just as doubt is the antithesis of fear. And perfected love casts out fear. So I said, okay, this thought regarding how love can destroy fear, this needs to be a separate topic.
Yeah. So you do the same
So I
thing.
take that and I'll start it under a different
Just to
title.
get that
Just to have
initial,
it.
yeah.
Yes. And then I'll finish that chapter on motive, and I'll go on with my flow, and then I get to this chapter
You come back to it.
and deal with it.
Yeah.
And so it's, I like to organize as far as nonfiction. Now, fiction, I do by chapter, but I write in a linear fashion, which is, I didn't know this when I was writing Between the Ticks of the Clock or the follow-up about Gabriella, but the flow, I wrote it in a linear fashion. I didn't break it up into blocks. It wound up in chapters.
Yeah.
But it didn't. The first draft wasn't like that. As I wrote it, it developed on its own, and I didn't know this until I read a book on writing by Stephen King. Very good book, by the way.
He has a book on the technique.
He
and
has
the art
a book
of writing.
on writing. It's a story of his life, basically.
Okay.
And how he goes about writing. He writes in a linear
You were
fashion.
very inspired by that book.
He and Saul Stein impacted me tremendously.
Okay.
They helped bring me in as far as my fiction writing. Nonfiction, I was weaker on. I was very strong as a fiction writer, but nonfiction, the editor helped me,
Okay,
with organization, and well, you can't just do that. You got to stay here.
Yeah.
It's more confining.
Yeah.
But those two books, On Writing by Stephen King and On Writing by Saul Stein, two excellent books.
Stein.
Stein.
Okay.
Tremendous writers, tremendous geniuses, in my opinion.
Yeah. And what we've heard from a number of people is that to be a writer, you need to be a reader.
You have to read.
And you just proved that.
You have
'Cause
to
you
read.
read On Writing as you were writing.
And you read you read whatever if your thing is mystery, if you like me, I love spiritual things because I'm a spiritual man. I love spiritual topics. I love things about the spirit realm. I love things that talk about God's magnificence and his glory and the unseen world that we're surrounded by.
Yeah.
And I have that gift of tapping into that and writing about it. And because I've read so much about it, it affected me, and that's my nature.
Yeah.
You know, other writers, Stephen King is excellent with horror, with thrillers, with suspense, you know, things like that, because that is what he read.
Yeah.
He read those writers growing up. And most writers, a lot of times, they write what they've read.
And I love reading about people, like
Okay.
someone's biography, autobiography. I want to know how they've gotten through to be where they are.
Okay.
And so I guess that's what we hadn't even talked about that.
No, we hadn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love reading about people. Even growing up, again, I wanted to get out of being called a goody.
Goody, goody. Okay.
Yes, I was a goody two shoes. I was stuck up because I was quiet. And in the hood, you stuck up if you don't talk to people.
Yeah, that's true.
So I read a
That's
lot
true.
about high school girls, popular high school girls. Not always true stories.
Now, what age were you when you were reading? Were you adolescent?
No, earlier. I've always read.
Okay.
7, 8.
Okay.
I've always read. And I locked in on them books about the girls who are well-liked, they're popular, and everyone just wanted to be around them. I'm like, I want to be that person.
Now, did you become her in high school?
Heck yeah.
Oh,
My mother did. I know, Ma. Just work. My mother did not
Yeah.
know what happened because I went from being this extreme introvert, extremely shy child, and I was strategic with my choice of high schools. Most of my class went to 3 schools, and I said, I kind of low key asked. I had 1 or 2 friends like, is somebody going here?
Okay.
And they were like, no. I'm like, nobody is going. That's
Okay.
that doggone it. That's the school I'm going to.
Okay,
Because I
I
needed
got
to
you.
reinvent myself without
got
people
you.
knowing. Like,
I got you.
that's
Yeah,
not you.
yeah. So what you're saying is the books you read shaped
Yeah.
who Wendy was, because high school years are vital as your launching pad into life.
Yeah, they are.
They're vital.
And it helped because although Matthew and I were talking a couple weeks ago about being popular, and I'm like, it's not all it's cracked up to be. He was like, it's not. It's a lot of work.
Yeah,
Because
it
so
is.
many people are pulling at you.
Sure.
But in reinventing myself, I still know I'm still that shy girl. I'm still an introvert. But I know how to turn it on when I need to.
Yeah.
And that's what I did in high school.
Okay.
Like, doggone it, she was a cheerleader in the book. So I'm going to be a cheerleader.
So do you feel that being an introvert is a positive or a negative for your writing?
It's both. It's both, because being an introvert allowed me to always tap into me, because I was too shy and too, what's the word? I didn't have the self-esteem to talk to someone confident. I lacked the confidence.
So you know who you are.
Yeah.
You know yourself.
I know myself.
You know who you are.
Yeah. And I'm very comfortable with myself.
Because that's what I wanted to say was oftentimes another reason that people aren't transparent is because they're not comfortable with who they are.
Yeah.
Because for years, I didn't like who I was.
Oh,
I wanted to be that guy that all the girls liked, all the guys admired, that you had it all together, that you were all that.
Yeah.
That's what I desired to be, because growing up, you get called doofus, you get called lanky, you get all those names.
Yeah.
And it brands you.
Yeah.
As
You allow it to brand you.
because you don't know any different.
Yeah.
You don't know. I mean, at 9 years old, how much do you know about establishing your own self-image? And they didn't talk about that when I was growing up in the 60s.
Yeah, I don't think they still talk about it.
They talk about self-image more now.
Yeah,
I think
not
kids
in
now.
school, not at that formative age.
I think kids now are more aware.
Yeah, it's still, they could do more.
They could do
better.
more, but they're more aware than we were growing up.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, what we were talking about was how it's important to get that first draft done, to be transparent, to get it down, get it written before you chicken out.
Yeah.
And
own it.
And own it. And rule number 2, get the first draft. Number 2 is set a time that you're going to write. Make an appointment with yourself. What time you're going to write? Am I going to write from 5 to 6 a.m.? Am I going to write during my lunchtime at work? Am I going to write in the
on
evenings?
the commute going to work.
Right, going to work?
Yeah, you find a way.
Am I going to write after I come home, I eat dinner, the kids are in bed? I'm going to write from 7 to 9. I'm going to write from 6 to 8. That's what I did.
It's a busy day. I only have 30 minutes, but let me write something.
Yeah, I was working
to keep yourself in the habit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was doing my work as an environmental specialist and as a mortgage loan originator for a major bank. I'm doing both of those and writing.
2 full-time jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was doing both of those and writing that novel. And so what I had to do, I had to set an appointment. And there were times I went in the office, started writing, I get a phone call. You got to follow up on the phone call. You got to pull up some documents. You got to send this over here. You got to do that. And distractions come, ruining your appointment to write.
Whatever goal you have,
there's always a distraction.
Always a distraction.
That's another thing.
It doesn't mean anything.
You have to set the appointment, and you have to not allow anything, especially you.
Yeah. Oh, I got to wash dishes.
Oh, any number of things.
I got to do laundry.
Any number of things. Somebody will call that you haven't talked to in a while.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? I need to talk to you later. I have a very important
I'm not even doing
appointment.
that. I'm doing voicemail.
Well, yeah.
Because once I'm distracted, it's hard for me to come back.
See, I can do it. I can say, hey, you know what? I need to get back to you.
Yeah.
I'm in the middle of something.
Voicemail.
Especially if it's somebody that you know you may not be able to get a hold to again.
That's okay.
You may not be able to get them back, but you have to keep that appointment with yourself. You have to. My time was from 6 or 6:30 to 9 or 9:30. I had to get those 3 hours.
Yeah.
And I did that. And I would be in my office feeling guilty that you're in another part of the house. I'm down here in the southeastern part of the house, and you're upstairs in the northwestern side, and we're in 2 different places.
Yeah.
And I said, but I got to do this. I have to do this.
But part of that is having a conversation. We had a conversation.
Yes.
And I knew, from the time we met, like, you need to get this book out.
Yeah.
And so, I knew that there was going to be many a night that you were grinding and writing toward your goal. And I supported that.
Yes, you did.
As you do for me.
Actually, you pushed me. When are you going to finish the book? When are you going to finish the book? When are you going to finish the book? And I couldn't get back to the town. I couldn't and suddenly it happened at that workshop we went to where Tamara gave me that note, finish your book.
Yes.
Remember?
Yeah.
She gave me that note. And I was
Yeah.
like, whoa, I don't even know this lady. She's telling me to finish the book. Okay, I hear you, Lord.
Yeah.
I hear you. Wendy's been telling me, I hear you.
Yeah.
And so my point is, set the time for your writing. You have to set the time. And then have it in mind. Say, I want to do 1,000 words. I want to do 1,000 words. I want to do 1,500 words.
Have a goal. Have many goals towards your goal.
Have goals and have tiny goals.
Yeah.
Because if you hit a little goal, you're going to hit another goal.
Yeah. And they build upon each other.
But you have to set the expectation and you do it step by step. If you're writing, you write. Some people say, I do the beginning, the middle, and the end. Some people write the beginning and they write the end. And then they fill in the middle.
Okay.
I would go nuts. I couldn't do that. I couldn't write like that.
But that's part of knowing yourself.
But that's me.
Yeah.
I know me.
Yeah.
I have to write and let the story, and I'm blessed in that way that my mind, because, I dream stories. I dream movies.
You dream action movies.
I do. I pulled a muscle one night swinging at somebody in my sleep. I did.
Wow.
But you have to set that expectation for yourself. And once you do, you say, okay, wow, I got that done.
And not only is it setting the expectation for yourself, but it's not setting an expectation in comparison to someone else.
No, that's a good point.
That's
Talk
huge.
about that, and I'm going to talk about it
Well,
as
you
well.
know, a lot of times, I mean, it's. I think it's a human nature thing that we sit there like, okay, well, so let's take us for instance. You have 2 books that you have released, and I am in the middle of writing my second. It would hinder me greatly for me to say, okay, he has 2 books out, and I'm just part of this story, but now I gotta try and get to where he is. That's your story.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I applaud that and I support that, but I don't need to take it on as needing to be my story.
No.
My story is going to be totally different.
See, that's that. You know what that is? Again, I have to say it again. That is what you have is what's called an infinite construct or an infinite mindset. An infinite mindset doesn't look at the environment where the environment's controlling your action, your pace, and your direction. And infinite constructs looks within
Yeah.
at
That's
what
where all the
at what
answers are.
God put inside
Yeah.
of you,
Yeah.
and that sets your pace.
Yeah.
That sets your clock. That sets the direction you move.
Yeah.
What God put in your DNA
We
what He
all
put in
have
your heart.
something. Yeah.
We all have something. And for me to look at someone else and say, "Wow, they've written like 8 books.
Yeah.
Wow. All right, great.
That's their story.
They've written 8 books.
That's wonderful.
You could write 1 book and sell more books than their 8.
Combined, yes.
You could write 1 book that changes more lives than the person that wrote 12 books.
Yeah.
What someone else is doing or has done should not be your measuring stick. You have to follow your own path, especially as a writer, as a budding writer, as a writer who is in the middle of a project. Like right now, I have the follow-up to Between the Ticks of the Clock. I'm about 25% through that. But I have 2 other books on the destruction of poverty and the laws of God that are about half done.
Yeah.
You know,
And then even saying that, so that's what you just named. I told her 6 books with the ones that are out.
yeah.
I don't think that I need to. Okay, Lord, he got 6.
But see, that's the
I
point.
just have 1.
Your one
That's
book.
not my story.
Your one book.
Yeah.
I saw the cover of your book. Oh my gosh, it's gorgeous. When I saw it, I was like, that is a beautiful cover.
Yeah.
And
is
it's
beautiful.
you. It's so you.
Yeah.
That one cover, I like it better than all of my covers.
Really?
You know, I do. I do.
Oh, wow.
Now, the point is that what you write is what you write. What the song you write, the song you sing, nobody can sing it, play it the way you can.
Right.
No one can do it the way I do it.
Right.
No one can do it the way whoever's listening or watching this video, they can't do what I'm doing.
And then I want to make sure that people understand too that as with most goals, you can't tell everyone because everyone is not going to be in your corner supporting
not.
or cheering you on.
They're
and
not.
even if you are married to that person, you figure out a way
Yeah. You have to.
to reach that goal. And hopefully, depending on who that person is,
You
they'll
need
come on
support
board.
though.
You need support.
You need support because
we have great support. We have great
we do.
coaches.
We really do.
Zanetta.
We do. We have tremendous coaches, and we're meeting amazing people that God
Yeah.
is blessing us to connect
Yeah.
with. But it started with each other.
Right. But
Because of
we
the
support
energy
each other.
we
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
with each other. There were times I was writing and it would just come over me. I can't finish this book.
Oh,
What a-
yeah, that's going to happen every time.
Oh, I can't do this. I
Yeah.
can't because I'm thinking about other things you've read about other people
Yeah.
and how many books they've written. I mean, there's some writers that are
We've
so
had people on
prolific.
our show who's written
Oh
many
my gosh.
books.
Oh, Yusuf has written I don't know how many books.
Yeah.
You
Evan
know,
has written
and
a
most
ton
of the people
books. Mm-hmm.
in the book group I'm in have written a lot of books.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I have to stay in my lane and stick with the the infinite construct that I live in, and don't embrace that infinite competition thing.
Yeah. It's not a competition.
Because most human beings, the reason people embrace that is because we have energy centers in our bodies. And I don't know, some people ascribe to it, some don't. I do. I believe that there's the lowest energy center is the sexual energy. And then there's the energy of appetites. The center of our bodies was based on appetites, our hungers, our desires, our proclivities. Then there's the area of survival, which is where competition lives.
Yeah.
Now, those are the three lower areas. A lot of people live their lives in those lower areas. In order for you to be as effective as a writer, you have to rise above those base survival animalistic instincts and rise to the level of your heart, your language, your
It's a less
intellect,
stressful area.
and your spiritual connection to your creator.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those other four regions, to tap into those, you have to rise above the sexuality, the appetites, and the competition, the survival mode. Because if not, you're in a cycle.
Yeah.
And it's difficult to be effectively creative if you're in competition with someone that doesn't even know you exist.
Right. They don't care. They're going about their lives.
They're living their lives.
Yeah.
They're walking out what they've been ordained to do.
Yeah. And you should do the same.
Yes. So,
And surround yourself with people. Seek people who are like-minded.
yes.
Like you are in an author's group.
Yes.
You guys support each other and
Yes.
you bounce ideas off each other. Everyone kind of thinks the same way. You can't be, at Bridge trying to find people to help you write. You may.
It's challenging. You have to find your spot. That's you comfortable for you, not what somebody else is doing. So we have to get the first draft done. If you're doing nonfiction, compartmentalize it. Or if it's fiction, do it in sections, do it in chapters. The sentence leads to the paragraph leads to the chapter leads to the book. And then you get that first draft done. Let it sit, walk away from it.
Yeah.
Give it time, let it marinate, as they say.
Yeah.
Then read back through it, and you're going to see all the mistakes you made. You're going to see plot holes. You're going to see where you're going to see where this person, they had red hair, and then over here now their hair is brown. And
Just get started.
Just get started.
Yeah.
That's the main thing.
Definitely.
And read those two books, On Writing by Stephen King, and another book is On Writing by Saul Stein. Awesome books. Listen, babe. Our time is about up. Our time is up.
Yeah. It was a great conversation.
This was a great account. And I pray that people were blessed by it.
Yeah.
I
Write
pray
your
that
book.
they were.
Tell your story.
Tell your story. Listen, until next time, be who you are.
Yeah.
Look for the God inside of you. Tap into your gifting and allow God's grace to flow in your life as a mighty river. You never did that before. That was cool. I like that. God bless.
Be blessed, everyone.
Thanks for listening to JW Fusion with your hosts, James and Wendy B.